Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the BOCC meeting of March 14th. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There's almost a baseball stadium back over here.
All right, again, good morning, everybody. And the first thing we have on our agenda are our minutes. Gentlemen, do we have any additions or corrections?
No, I do not.
That's all we did? 2 pages?
In other words, we didn't talk much about a lot of things, so. I move to approve the proceedings for the Montezuma Board of County Commissioners for Tuesday, March 7th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners, Montezuma County, March 7th, 2023. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the next thing we have up is planning and planning commission. Good to see you this morning, Zach.
See everybody.
Pull that mic as close as you can,
Okay.
sitting from there so that everybody can hear.
How's
you.
that?
Perfect.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. So some time ago, you guys, the commissioners tasked the Planning and Zoning Commission with a recommendation for after-the-fact PUD applications. That's what I'm here to present today. So this was written up, and we all came together, put this together, voted on it to present it in front of you. This is by no means the final version of it, as far as I'm sure there's a lot of gray area that needs to be cleared up, things like that. So this is for after-the-fact PUD applications that are currently being brought to the attention of Don and Jane in the planning department. So I propose the following. The county will open a window of 1 year and publicly announce the following: that properties that do not comply with the maximum of 2 living dwellings stated in the land use code and have not been through the planning and zoning process in order to become compliant as a PUD. That's effectively who we're talking about right now, okay? What actions would be taken within that 1 year time frame? Properties that have more than 2 living dwellings will have to apply for the PUD as stated in the land use code. The applicant will go through the regular process and will present to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Once the regular meeting process commences, the Planning and Zoning Commission will vote. There is no guarantee that there will be approval for the after-the-fact application, just as it currently is. If denied, the applicant will have to remove any additional living dwellings in order to become compliant, or petition to you gentlemen for them to be heard on where they stand. What happens after the 1 year time frame or the 1 year grace period is that if it is discovered the property is not in compliance with the land use code, having specifically to do with the PUDs, the property owner will have to pay 4 times the original cost and fees of the PUD application, at which time the applicant will go through the same process as they would in the 1 year time frame, the 1 year grace period. But to be clear, just because the landowner is paying the fees and going through the process, again, does not mean they're automatically approved. So at that point, they have, the options of segmenting the property if they can do so, removing the additional living dwellings, if they're not, or becoming a PUD. So they'll have 3 essential options at that point.
So, the 4 times the amount, the original cost, how did you come up with that? Was that a?
Yeah, so that was the idea is in that if we roll this out to all infractions of the land use code down the road, that it would be equivalent to the infraction, if you will. So if it's a setback fee is $100. So then it's not groundbreaking to pay the 4 times if they're out of compliance, whereas the after the fact PUD can get rather expensive based off of how many dwellings that they would have. And the idea here being that when we were originally tasked with this, it was to de-incentivize people purchasing property, adding additional dwellings, and then asking for forgiveness instead of permission. So 4 times could potentially be rolled out to, again, every infraction across the board.
So then, as far as enforcement, Ian, how does that come into play? And I don't know if you can answer that off the top of your head.
Well, I mean, that's the tricky part. So, I mean, as I'm understanding it, if the person doesn't become compliant within a year, then they would have to go through the process again. That's sort of the idea.
Yeah,
with
if
this,
they're
with
caught,
this 4
right?
times application fee. I mean, the reality of it is, if they didn't go through the process, I mean, and that's what I would envision seeing. I mean, if you get denied once, you're probably not going to pay a 4 times application fee and then go through the process again when you were denied once. I mean, why would you do that? Yeah. And so, at that point, then we're back into enforcement land, and we can enforce under the statute in county court like we've talked about. And that enforcement has, the issues that we've talked about before in terms of just the number of properties and the resources available in the office. And so, I mean, we're back into that conversation.
Okay.
I think the idea was that if we give the 1-year grace period, that it would potentially incentivize people to become compliant on their own, and then knowing that if they get caught after the year, that it's going to hurt financially.
And I think there's one other thing that's probably worth mentioning here, and it's just as much for the public's information as for you guys. But I mean, the idea that somebody with more than 2 dwellings on their property would just apply for a PUD, I mean, that's not really the answer, because that's not really what the PUD was enacted to do. I mean, it's not, the purpose of the PUD isn't to just let you build more places on your land. So, I mean, a lot of the places that we're seeing that are out of compliance with more than 2 dwellings, they're not going to fit the bill for a PUD.
No.
I mean, so they can apply, but, I mean, a lot of what we see here, and Zach, you probably see it too, is, I mean, places that just simply don't fall under that PUD envelope. They're out of compliance. And so, I mean, in certain situations, it might not even be appropriate to apply for a PUD. They might be looking more along the lines of some kind of an exemption. Because a lot of this stuff's it's not going to fall under the PUD umbrella.
Or breaking up the property into, the appropriate sized,
Right, then they could go through, but that's a subdivision.
do
then
a
at that
subdivision
point in time.
application at that point. Yeah, it's not saying that they have to become a PUD. It's just more of,
So, okay,
So then are we going to apply the same sort of fee structure to subdivisions for these sorts of situations? I mean, because in essence, if you stick these fines on just PUD applications, well, nobody's going to apply for a PUD. If I'm sitting there, I mean, I'm not going to apply for a PUD. Why would I pay 4 times the amount to apply for a PUD when I could simply apply for a subdivision and pay regular fees? And that's another thought. It's like, how far do we want to extend this?
and I think it rolls over into every single infraction of the land use code. We just didn't think it was appropriate
Yeah.
to open it up to everything all at once. You know, apply that same blanket term for everything. Maybe a phased rollout, you know, down the line.
The really tricky part, and I think that the P and Z Commission's on the right track with this. And I mean, I think it's so important to reel this in. But the reality of it is, I mean, you know, in some ways, like what you guys are doing is really like what the court system is better equipped to do. To find people who are out of compliance.
So are you saying leave it as it is and then just move those into?
The problem we run into is we have so many properties that are out of compliance
Right.
that as we're currently staffed, as we've talked about, we just simply can't enforce
Correct.
across the board. And so, you know, this is a great idea. I'm just not sure. I mean, ultimately, the teeth are going to come from the court process. And we already have those teeth.
Right.
And so, I mean, in a way, it's a conundrum because it's great to require people to pay, but then you've got to be able to enforce on the back end. And right now, you know, I'm not sure we're equipped to do that.
So let me ask you another question. In this year's time frame, how do you plan to educate the public, and what kind of a campaign are you putting forth in a year? Because every time somebody comes in front of us, they're like, well, we didn't know.
Sure.
So it's a lack of education, either on us getting the information to them or just a lack of education of them wanting to know. Because I don't think there's been an application that's come before us that they said, well, we just didn't know. I mean, is there? So how do we reach the public?
So it was proposed that we put out, and I don't know all the means of communication as far as what we have available to us, but I know that the Board of Real Estate, the Board of Realtors was talked about, just being that I think there's going to be some gray area there with the property being sold out of compliance after that 1 year timeframe, or it being up for sale, that it's currently not in compliance. And then so also along with releasing it in newspaper, any means in which we have to release that information and notify people of the impending change. I don't have a good answer for you there. This was more, from our understanding from the Planning and Zoning Commission, was tasked with the generalization of the idea of what should come. How do we address this issue?
So was the Board of Realtors suggesting or alluding to maybe a cloud on a title to keep it from selling or being sold?
No, we haven't reached out to them. It was,
Okay.
we were in discussion. It was brought up that, what if a property is sold that doesn't meet, or that's not compliant with the land use code, that falls under this specific issue? How do we give somebody that's buying a brand new property 4 times the original cost, right? But then it's also known that as a property owner, it's your job to understand and know the land use code and where you live. It's also, I think it's a fiduciary responsibility from the realtor standpoint to notify the pending buy.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, I almost wonder, I mean, I understand the logic behind the 1 year grace period. I mean, and it's really trying to incentivize people to get their properties compliant and do so in a way that's not going to be cost prohibitive. You know, at the same time, I mean, I think there is an idea that at least occurs to me is that, I mean, when a property's not compliant, I mean, you could almost make an after-the-fact PUD application or an after-the-fact exemption or anything like that. Make that application right out of the gate a high fee. I mean, because that's your penalty. I mean, the idea is like you have to get your property into compliance, and it's out of compliance. You put it out of compliance, like that's the penalty, right out of the gate. I mean, because otherwise you're going to give a grace period, and the people who, apply and get denied are going to be in the same position. I mean, there's no de-incentive. It's not de-incentivizing going out of compliance. I mean, ultimately, like they're building and they're doing the same thing that they would have done had they not built. Does that make sense?
Doesn't that apply the same after the 1 year grace period? You're in the same scenario there.
I mean,
right?
what we want to do, though, is we want to de-incentivize people from violating the land use code.
Agreed.
From being
And
out
so, I
of
mean,
compliance.
if we don't have something different than what they would have had on the front end, then like we're not necessarily de-incentivizing it. And then this commission ends up in the situation that it often ends up in, where we're looking at buildings that have been placed and that are sitting there, and now are we going to sit here and tell people they need to tear them down? I mean, the reality is sometimes it's more difficult to evaluate the after-the-fact stuff because the infrastructure's there. I mean, I don't think that's a secret.
And that's why I look at the forefront of it, of how do we educate them? Because if we educate them and they know what they're doing, they're not gonna be out of compliance. So we're talking about after the fact.
Right.
So we're dealing with things that have gone on for the last 25 years?
98.
Yeah,
Since the county's been in existence.
25 years, since the land use code came into play. I mean,
So what we're faced with is the only ones we've done last year, the 4 that we did, is because we found them, not because they volunteered them.
correct.
So part of the premise of the grace period is people will identify them. The realtors know, because they say, oh yeah, we have this house, and we have another apartment in the shop. It's disclosed to somebody, but never to planning. So the grace period would allow for these people that know they're not in compliance to self-identify that. Otherwise, yeah, eventually we're back to the same thing. When we find out about it, then we have to go after them. So that's the only bonus in the grace period, is that people can self-identify, and we
Sure,
don't
and
have to
and
just
I get that, and I think
come across it.
that's great, but I'm still saying if within that 1 year grace period, if they don't know, how do we give them the information so that they actually know that they're out of compliance? Because that's what we hear.
I would
Like, well,
agree
I
with
didn't
you.
even know I was out of compliance.
I would agree with you. I think the campaign ahead of time is as important as the grace period itself, right? Educating
That's
land
what I'm
use.
saying, because
Yeah.
if we don't educate them and they don't know, I mean, in a court of law, I know that ignorance is no excuse, but we should really try to do all of our part to educate our public of what really they're supposed to comply with, because every time we hear, it's like, we didn't even know we had to do anything.
Right.
I mean, we hear that all the time. I'm like, how can you not know that there's a land use code for the last 25 years?
Right. I would agree with you. I do think that's
So
incredibly important.
I think that before we make any kind of a decision on this, I think we need to know what the education campaign is prior or in conjunction with it to make sure that we're really doing our due diligence on educating the public. Now, is it, some will argue, is it up to us to educate the public? Some will say yes, some will say no, but I think the better job we do on education, we don't have to regulate.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, and that portion wasn't really in-depth discussed, just due to the understanding that we were under the impression you guys wanted some kind of firsthand look at how do we address this specific scenario.
And I appreciate that, and thank you, I really do appreciate that and the work that you guys are doing on that. But, I mean, when I hear it now, brings it to my mind is like, okay, how do we make sure?
Okay.
And again, we're not gonna hit everybody, and I get that, but
So just so we're clear, from what you gentlemen want from us is something along these lines, in addition to an education plan of the public.
well, I'm speaking for myself. I
No,
mean, I'm
I
not speaking for
agree.
these guys, but
I think we need to sit down in a workshop with P and Z.
I would think that would be a
Yeah.
good idea for
Okay.
a workshop, or we can come to one of your meetings.
Yeah. that might even be
However,
better.
whatever works out the best, so we can actually discuss it, because I think the education campaign in conjunction with it needs to happen. I'm not opposed to changing, so that we can kind of clean up the mess that's out there.
Sure.
But I think that we need to focus on
And-
how do we get the word out? How do we properly educate the people so that they actually know, hey, I can come in now and comply, and we need to get this done.
Gotcha.
And there might be other issues we need to discuss.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think this, if done properly, potentially could be rolled out to other infractions that are of concern of yours. You know, that plan, I don't necessarily think it needs to be done all at once, but,
Right.
because I think that's a can of worms that I don't know if you want to open just yet.
Originally, when we did this land use code, I was on the group that, I know that sounds like a long time ago, but it was a long time ago. But the whole thing of it is the PUD was put in there, in the land use code, to create a situation where if a farmer had 80 acres and he, instead of making a whole bunch of 3-acre lots, he could put 1-acre lots on the corner, but he had to set aside so much land that he was not gonna develop. He was gonna keep farming. That's what it was put in the land use code for. That was the original reason it was put in the land use code. So I think we're using that PUD thing for,
Lot of
in
stuff
a
that
way
doesn't need to
that
be done.
I think, I would agree with Ian. I think it should just be an exemption. I think we're using the PUD in a way that we shouldn't be using it. Because some of these don't have any other land that they can set aside. That's,
And I
should be left open. But that was the original intent of what a PUD was. It was to create, instead of taking 3-acre lots and creating 10 on 30 acres, you could put 10 on the corner on 10 acres and still keep that other 20 acres open where it could be farmed or ranched or whatever. That was the original intent.
And
of
I
what
would,
it was
I would
made
agree with
for.
you wholeheartedly, and I do think it's being circumvented and used improperly in a lot of ways. But the way the current land use code states it doesn't state restrictions that you're mentioning,
Yeah,
which
see,
I
and
do
this-
think is
this-
a
this-
larger
this
problem.
This has changed over
Yeah.
the last 10 or 12 years.
So
That-
what it
so
used to
that
be.
is still in the land use code? It's a cluster incentive PUD?
Yes. Yeah,
And
that's what
you-
it was in, that's what was in the land use code to begin with. I don't know when it got changed.
Well, it
Sometime from the
didn't
last
get
time
changed,
when
it
I
just
was in
got
here.
added to for a general PUD.
Yeah, till now.
But the cluster incentive, you have to have 75% of the property vacant and open for
Right.
ag. And you're allowed 3 houses. If you want to add another house, you have to add another 35 acres under the cluster incentive. But I've only seen a couple that were done in the county, and I don't agree with how they were done. One was just split off a piece of property, and then you have ag land separate, which you don't divide them up, you keep them on
Together.
the same property.
Yeah.
But you have to guarantee the 75% open space. And then I don't know when the GPUD got added in the mix.
Yeah.
So there's a industrial PUD, commercial PUD.
That was like in the mid-2000s.
General PUD and the cluster incentive
When the
PUD.
GPUD was added? I don't know, I
I
don't know.
don't know.
The
Anyway,
PUD
that's what I would like to see.
Okay.
Let's see if we can discuss this further. Let's set it up. If we need to come to your meeting, that's fine. Just set up the date for us, and then we'll be at your meeting. and discuss it further. But for me, I think if we educate, really work hard at trying to educate the public within this time frame too, that we're gonna be more successful than on the opposite side of it.
Sounds good.
That's one man's opinion. I've
No,
got
that's-
two other guys beside me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks,
Have a
Zach.
great day.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like we have some Mylars now?
We have yeah. Mylar and a high impact permit for signature. And that's it.
The thought out there is to do it now and ask for forgiveness later.
I thought we were proceeding on the Lewis property. No, he filed.
That's a different
Oh.
I'm talking about.
Okay,
That's all we have for this morning.
that's it.
That's it.
All right, very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving right along. Next, we have our public comment session. Board of Montezuma County Commissioners welcomes you to this meeting. Persons speaking during public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or depending on the number of people wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all the members of the public the opportunity to address the board. When addressing the board, please state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments. And comments to individual supervisors or staff are not permitted, and participants may not yield their time to others. With that, the public comment session is open. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment session on, and we are going to go right straight down. We're going to alter our agenda a little bit today. We do have the 12 hours on Mesa Verde here. We're going to move them all the way up to the top out of new business because I heard they have some time management issues. And ladies and gentlemen, if you come on down, we're going to move you up to the front. Because you were way at the bottom.
You bet.
You bet. If you will just introduce yourselves and pull those mics just as close as you can so that the viewing public can hear you all, that would be great.
Just make sure you push your button. There you go.
The button's on. My name is Cap Allen. I'm here with Danny Gregory, who's our boss. Jay Balfour, who's second boss. Kirk Underwood, who's also a second boss, for the 12 hours of Mesa Verde. The main reason officially we have to come here every year is we have donations of beer from a couple of breweries locally and one from Durango that we give away during the race. So there's no money changes hands. The beer comes to us free. We give it away. And my understanding is because we're using the fairgrounds, that has to have a formal approval on a year-by-year basis. It's not a dangerous situation. The number of beers, glasses, however you want to quantify it, just about equals the number of racers. So anybody wants 5 is out of luck, and it's a pretty safe situation. And we've been doing it, I think, at least 8 years, maybe. And we've had no events that have occurred as a result of that. It's pretty, but the racers really appreciate it after 12 hours of heat and dust. Really? A free beer? Really? They really like that. So we need that approval from you. The reason we're all here, and everyone in this group should say something if they want, the reason we're all here is just to say how thankful we are that we've got that facility to use, the fairgrounds, and just the serendipity of having Phil's World across the road, and then this further serendipity of having 2 giant tunnels under the highway that we can ride bicycles under. It just makes it kind of a one-in-a-lifetime place. And to be able to use the fairgrounds and at what we think is a very reasonable price. What I want to emphasize is reasonable price. We give away every cent we have in excess of what this event costs us. This past year, we're in excess of $70,000 more, much in excess of $70,000. Our total, since the race has been in existence, we think within the next 2 years is going to hit $1 million to this community. And it's all gone to our race goal, our mission statement is for the kids. All of that money goes to kids groups within Montezuma County. It's about 12 or 13 groups right now, but 2 or 3 get the lion's share of the money based on our understanding of their need. And as far as we know, every one of those groups is happy that we're out there. We bring a lot of people to the community. It's a big impact. To have 950 racers on site, they bring family, they bring kids. We think we bring in excess of 3,000 people to this community for that weekend. So it's got a big economic impact. Plus the visibility it adds to Cortez, Montezuma County for that kind of activity, which is a nice, clean, good tourist activity. And I think more than one person who sees our venue for the first time leaves thinking they might like to live here. So if we have any comments, any of the rest of you want to make?
Commissioners, County Clerk. Yeah, it's a very safe event. We've got first aid stations all over the course. We've got paramedics at the beef barn where they're staged there, and they provide first aid for the racers as they come in. The course is mapped out, well laid out with course marshals that are giving direction to the riders on making sure they got the proper route. And then I'll let Kirk speak on the number of first aid stations and what his crew does out there. But there are 9 of us that are volunteering our time. We pay out of our own pocket for our meals throughout the year for our meals. Nothing comes out of the donations that are received to support our food or gas or anything like that. So, but it's extremely worthwhile. And as Cap said, 13 different organizations that are receiving funds from this, and I think it's actually I think we have posted on our website, $87,600 is what was donated last year. And so like he said, well in excess of $70,000. I know some of you have been out there and ridden the course during the 12 Hours of Mesa Verde. We appreciate that. Hope to see you again this next year. We had one gentleman that carried his bike in. I believe it was right around 8 miles. He broke his bike and literally put it over his shoulder and carried it in. I think one of you commissioners may know that person, but it was pretty impressive to carry that bike in 8 miles. Not everybody's going to do that, and literally put it on his shoulder because it wouldn't roll. Kirk, got anything?
Kirk Underwood, Montezuma County Search and Rescue, actually broke his bicycle right at my aid station. I helped him for about 30 minutes trying to repair it to get it functional and couldn't, so he carried it in. But we do have 4 aid stations on the race course that are pretty good access from both directions. So it really almost gives them 8 opportunities if they need care to stop by, and we can help them with that. But it's been very safe in the past.
This is her deal. She started it.
The boss.
Yeah, this is my 21st year helping plan an event on this weekend, and only 4 of those haven't been a 12-hour. So it's we're pretty excited about it. It's I think it's a good event for the community. It's a good event for local people that want to participate in it, whether it be as an actual participant in the event or whether they volunteer. We have a core board that works on this event all year, but we have about 125 additional volunteers that show up on event weekend and help us put this on, and all those folks are donating their time as well. We try to kind of incorporate the beneficiaries that can to help show up, because it's just, I think it's important for them to see this event and the people that come in. Right now we're essentially sold out. We still have the team members can still join the teams if their team captain was able to secure a spot. And then we have some spaces available for grommets, which are the under 19 group. And then we also have some spots for our sponsors that are available, and a few local folks that have made a request that didn't make it during the registration. I'd like to add that, you know, we have a lot of outside money that comes into this, and then we have our sponsorship dollars, and over 90% of the funds that are generated directly through us for the event, not counting the funds that are spent when people come for the weekend or other weekends, but over 90% of those funds stay in this community. And we typically have a strong focus towards the at-risk youth, but there's other youth programs that are involved as well, and sometimes they're cycling related, or because we have to make sure that we continue to grow our base so that the event stays strong, hopefully for a couple more decades to come. But I just really wanted to thank you guys so much for listening to us talk about it. And I would like to add that Durango Coca-Cola is also a sponsor, so it's not just a alcoholic happy hour. It's both, and we have numerous food vendors that are on site, and it's really just an opportunity for us to thank the racers, to thank the volunteers, and to just thank everybody that supports us for this event, because it's really good for our community.
Okay. Well, I think it's a great event. Obviously, you all know that I've been out there. The trees are harder on me, and the rocks are harder on me as I get older. So I've not had to stop at one of your aid stations yet, but that's good.
I don't think you will this year either.
And I don't think I will this year. I'm just out of a sling, so I can't do much. But it is a great boon for just actually the whole community as a whole. You know, for those 3 days basically prior to the race, and then the day after, there are a lot of people that are here over all of the trails throughout Montezuma County. And to be able to give that money back to the community within this community, that's a lot of money that's donated back. And I really appreciate that. So thank you all for your efforts and the volunteer work that you put forth. I think that needs to be, you know, admired and stated, not just here asking us for permission to have some beer out there, but for what you give back to the community, I think is admirable, and I appreciate it. So obviously, I don't have any issues with this. I've been on the commission for 4 years now. We've approved it every 4 years. Have, like they said, never had an issue out there, to my knowledge. If you've not been out there, it's a great event. Go out there for a couple hours. You can even, you know, prior to that day, go out and walk the trail or see what goes on out there. So, Commissioner.
I just have to admire the way you guys put on the event. I mean, it's a really well-run event. And you kind of dated me, because I remember the day that Doug Baggy and his gang came through the door and said, we want to put a bike track out on Phil's place out there. And we worked and got it put together, and then along came the 12 hours of Mesa Verde. And I commend you guys for the sustainability you've had and the way you run your organization.
Yeah, it's been a great increase in size, tremendously from when you first started. It's been quite a while ago, but back then there wasn't near as many racers, but you guys have improved it and kept going, and it's been a great deal. So my hat's off to you. Thank you.
So with that,
I so move we approve their use of the fairgrounds for the 12 hours of Mesa Verde.
Second.
okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the use of the fairgrounds along with the,
Is there going to be a special event liquor license as well? Is that what you guys are asking for?
They're just giving it
Just
away.
it's
away.
giving
Okay.
it away,
Yeah,
so
okay.
I don't think they
Yep.
have to have it because it's not for sale.
Yep.
For the 12 hours of Mesa Verde, and I don't have the date, but
It's May 13th,
that'll do it, May
It's
13th.
always Mother's Day.
the day before Mother's Day.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, there you go, ladies and gents. Good luck,
Thank you
we'll
very
see you
much.
out there.
Thank you for giving us as well. Much appreciated.
You are welcome. Have a great day. All right, now we're going to go back up to our department reports. First off, we have our landfill, Mel Jarman. I see him in the room. We'll get you guys going through here.
Morning. Sorry I missed yesterday. I was a little tied up.
That's all right. Good morning, Mel.
So, on the liner for the Carver Field, I reached out to that company you suggested. They tried to bid a liner that was not approved by CDPHE. And the last email I got is they don't want to bid on it. But, our consulting firm, engineering company, dealt with a liner company out of Fruta on a project in Pitkin County. I got their current bid last night. I'll bring it up and submit it with Simvex so you guys can look at it. They are just a little bit higher.
So we have two bids for the proposals of the 40 mil HDPE liner and with the woven geotextile 8-ounce fabric.
Correct.
We have one from H&H Lining in the amount of $2,000 for Mob, $28,728 for the liner, and $79.80 for the fabric. They don't have a total. Can somebody do that math for me? It is higher, though. Simbeck and Associates has the liner at $24,075. No mob cost, and the fabric at $9,070. So we have an apparent low bidder of Simbeck and Associates. Just quick and easy math off the top of my head. So you are recommending? or-
Simbeck.
Okay.
No, that's fine with me.
Okay. Move we accept the Simbeck bid for the amount of, looks like 33,145.
Hold on, I'll tell
Is
you.
that,
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
What is it?
33,145.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the proposal from Simbeck and Associates to the Montezuma County landfill in the amount of $33,145 for the 40 mil HDPE and the 8-ounce woven geotextile fabric. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
If we can get that sign, I'll get it sent to Simback today so I can get that liner ordered, because it is kind of a backlog trying to get that here. I'd like to have it on site before we start, so we're not held up.
Probably a pretty good idea.
Well, our engineers are out of Denver, and it costs a lot of money to have him sit there and wait, so
Yeah.
we're in trouble back and forth. So if I've got everything on site, ready to go, we can get her done.
okay.
Some bad news, we got information back from CDPHE on the grant for the excavator. We did not get approval for that grant. We are working on a current grant with the grant writer here, on a mini grant. We're looking at trying to get a bagger for our compost for people that cannot take a bucket load of compost. We're gonna try and bag some up and they can buy it by the bag.
Like 40-pound, 50-pound bags?
So we're looking at a mini grant to get that. The machine's almost 50,000. The max we can apply for on that mini grant is 30. But it'll be a definite benefit in the future selling it by the bag. And the bags that we're kind of looking at are a cloth bag that they could reuse, bring them back, refill them, resew them. So it's not just plastic bags that they throw away. There will be another big grant coming up in the fall from CDPHE. We've got plans. We're looking at some deals for extending our recycling program. I'll present that as soon as I get the information on the grant and what they're looking for. Hopefully this will be well in line with what will help the community. And then on the budget, as of January of every year, we're in the red because of all the insurance bills and stuff like that. But I'm currently got engineers set up to come mid-April. I have a scraper lined up to help move dirt mid-April. It's all depending on the weather. So if we have to push it back, we will. But I want to get started on that Carver Field mid-April if we can get in there, depending on weather.
Still probably pretty
It's a
boggy
soup.
right now.
It's a
isn't it?
mess down there.
Yeah.
It's a super muddy mess down there. So other than that, I really don't have anything else.
Okay. Question?
No.
All right.
Thanks, Mel.
Thank you,
How's,
Mel.
how's the ironwood stuff? Are they hauling chips?
I've been out the
Okay.
last week or so. I don't know what all they've brought in. They brought in quite a bit, and I think they have the same issue we did. It's just a soupy, muddy mess.
Yes.
And we're supposed to get more rain tomorrow. So,
Yep.
I mean, we're supposed to get 2 semis in today to load cardboard, and we're gonna have to shell that up because it's just too muddy to get them down there to our dock. It's just what it is. It's
Yeah.
nice to have moisture, but we could use a few days of sunshine too.
End of the month.
End of the month.
End
We're
of the-
never happy, are we?
It is
Never
what it is.
happy.
I'm not complaining about the moisture, it's just
Yeah.
dealing with the mud. But the crew's doing a good job. We're not having real issues with people getting in and out of the landfill, so. Wood chips have helped,
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
so.
Probably,
All
they're
right.
probably disappearing as fast as you can haul them in.
Yeah, we've moved a lot of wood chips.
That helps with the mud.
It does. It's gonna help with a lot of things, actually, so.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Good.
All right, thank
All
you,
right,
gentlemen.
thank you, Mel.
Thanks, Mel.
All right, moving right along, we're gonna go to, do you need a break, Commissioner? Vehicle maintenance, Shane.
careful.
Good morning.
Morning, Shane.
This, to begin with, this is just finally unburied these vehicles out back that have been in a snowbank. So this will be, starting tomorrow, these vehicles will be on public surplus. So I just wanted to kind of show this to the general public and see, they can go onto that publicsurplus.com and bid on this list of vehicles. Starting, I'm going to put it on a 14-day schedule. So it'll be up there for 14 days, and they can go on there and bid on these if they want to chance it. Some surplus county stuff.
Those two vans, how many passengers are they?
Let's see. So those are both handicap vans. So they have one seat in them and plus a handicap ramp.
Okay.
So they're pretty
Can't
much
use it
all.
for
yeah,
extension.
I know where you were talking. I know where you were headed.
No, those don't have any seats in them, basically.
Okay.
I think they do have one back seat and then the handicap ramp, and that's it. So they'll be a pretty special, and they're
Pretty a special
very wore out. You can see they have
250,000
miles on them. I don't know, they're just done. We don't really get rid of things unless they're
Wore out.
pretty wore out. Those Impalas
Oh,
aren't
but
bad.
those are mint.
Yeah. There's a lot of things at the county that are still pretty mint.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, that's what we have for now. There'll be a ton of stuff being sold this year because it finally broke free, and now we have just crazy amounts of stuff coming in. So,
Good.
Coroner's pickup should be here today. The social services, those two Impalas were social service vehicles. They ended up with 2 new Equinoxes, which isn't really. I was really just helping them to get the lowest bid in the right vehicle. That's all under their
Who is
purview.
that?
What's that?
Social services?
Social services, yeah.
Gotcha.
So they pay for that, all of that. So I was just basically helping them get those bought and find the right dealer. We ended up buying them directly off of a lot in Albuquerque, but they got 2 new Chevy Traverses for social services now. There's 16 sheriff's units sitting, waiting for upfit. Everything broke loose all at the same time, so the outfitter got swamped with basically 60-some vehicles all in 1 month. So they're just trying to work them in as soon as they can, but they can only do, they'll do 4. We have them scheduled for, I think it was the 28th of March. They're supposed to start 4 at a time until they're done. But we'll also they're so backed up that we ended up getting 10, which have been ordered for 3 years now.
Yeah.
So we
I was
finally
saying
ended up getting those
2
10
years.
in. So those will get upfit, and they've been on the agenda to be at the outfitter. But then we got 10, and 2 months later, we got our 2023s. So now
So that was the 6.
6 more. And so I think 4 of those we're going to swap the equipment from some of the Ford pickups. We'll finally start hitting the point of being able to move consoles, lights, things like that out of the equipment we already own. So we'll do 4 of those in-house that are over at the shop to swap all that stuff over.
To do the swap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds easy, but it's not. It's still
No, I know.
a ton
There's-
of wiring and.
There's a lot to swap.
But they're looking at 2 or 3 months from the outfitter to be able to do it. So if we should be able to get those on the road sooner, doing
So
them
they'll
in-house.
just ship them home?
We'll either have to ship them, so everything comes
go
with
get 'em?
an extreme cost. It's
Probably
insane
go
right
get
now.
'em.
The upfits the last bid we had on the upfits were $14,000 a pickup for all brand new equipment.
Do you need me to bring one home Friday?
What's that?
Do you need me to bring one home Friday?
Maybe. I'll let you know. I don't know where they've all hit right now. So I know that those 6, I don't know if all 6 hit the dealer yet, the 2023s. I know that the upfitter has everything that they need to upfit now.
Those
so
10.
They're just sitting there waiting to be upfit.
Okay.
But everything comes with an extreme cost. It costs upwards of $1,400 to $1,500 a unit to get those transferred here, which is insane per vehicle. So
Like
you're
I
looking at
said,
16 vehicles.
I'll be at the
Yeah,
CCI's.
For that
all-
cost, we could make a
I'll
deal
leave
with
Wednesday.
the
and-
airlines and fly people up there and have
Well,
them
that's-
drive back.
So we've done that a ton of times.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking at doing is, so they'll only get 4 done at a time. And we can easily put somebody on Denver Connect, because these are all in Denver, put them in Denver Connect and pay them for a day of wages way cheaper than we could ever hire a transport to get them here. So
Right.
as those start breaking free and we start needing to get them back, I think that's a big savings to the county, is to be able to do that, because at $1,500 a piece for 16 units, that's a
Gosh,
whole
that seems
nother
like
vehicle.
a lot of money per unit.
And that's
That's,
just, and you can't really find any cheaper. I mean, Enterprise is a huge company, and they transport stuff everywhere, and that's the cheapest they can find. So it's just, with the diesel cost, everything right now is coming with just
sure.
atrocious prices. Parts, everything, all the lights, all the bumpers, everything went up 40% over the last 3 years. Just everything's costing a lot.
So when you take those units into your shop to work on, what does the sheriff do for vehicles in that?
They have pool vehicles right now, so, in this respect, we'll end up with basically mostly new units. I think there's some 2019s, there's some 2020s that we'll still be using, and then we'll have 21s. No, we won't have any 21s. Then we'll be to 22s and 23s. There was like a 2-year span there we completely missed.
Okay.
But there's 3 2016s that will be left there for pools. And they sit at our shop, and when they need an oil change or service, they'll switch into that unit if they're on shift and go use it for the
Yeah.
day
So
or
they're just
two
a
or whatever.
reserve unit.
Yeah.
So we'll take some of those older units that are still equipped with lights and everything and use those. They can switch into those and use them for a couple of days, but they don't get a ton of miles put on them that way. So the pool cars will end up being 2016 F-150s here by the end of the year. 'Cause I'd give the end of the year because I don't know. There is no such thing as being able to do a time frame anymore for any of this stuff. So, we will have some money coming in by the end of the year for sure. It's not gonna be a lot because a lot of those vehicles we're gonna be selling back are not gonna be worth anything until we start getting into the newer units.
Right.
So, but other than that, that's what I got going now.
Okay. Well, let me know.
And that's next.
I'll be up this week. I leave tomorrow,
Leave tomorrow, okay.
and I'm gonna ride with a commissioner from Archuleta County. I'm gonna meet him there, and then we're gonna ride up together.
Okay.
2 drivers are better than 1.
Yeah.
And I have somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
The flights this time didn't work out for me just because of the time frame of when I have to be up there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you know.
So we're just
I
gonna
honestly
drive.
don't know that, I think they delivered 2 more to the outfitter yesterday, and that's got the outfitter completely what they're gonna do. And then if we're gonna do 4 of them, I don't know when those are gonna hit.
Well, if there's one there and I need to pick it up Friday, let me know and I'll bring it
Okay,
home.
I'll let you know.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Shane.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. All right. Dustin with Buildings and Grounds. Building maintenance, Dustin. How are we doing on our water issues that we found yesterday?
We extended those downspouts on both of them on that building to get them out past where that gravel is. Because the one further down the alley to the east, it was running out and running right into their utility pole also, so we extended that out a little further also. It was dry this morning, so it's gonna rain
Well,
pretty good tomorrow.
we
so.
can at least observe it now and
Yeah.
see what it does, but that's probably a pretty good fix. So what we found yesterday is they had that leak over in the clerk's office, going into the basement. We walked outside to do some observation and off of Cocapelli's, and obviously, hopefully you did communicate with them that you were extending those for them.
I did not, but
Well,
I
you
can
probably
let them know.
communicate with them today then. But it was going next to a power pole, and a foot away from that pole was a hole about 6 inches in diameter, and I'm like, all your water's going in this hole. And then it
And then when I was there, in
follows
the-
our foundation, and it goes right through the conduits that are going to our foundation. So,
and when I was there in the morning, it wasn't running yet because it was still frozen, but, so I didn't notice that, so.
yeah.
Other than that, we've finished up that office down there, and they're moving in. We're getting ready to move the elections equipment. Jim and them, we're gonna install cameras this week, and we're gonna paint that room before we move them in there.
Okay.
And other than that, it's mainly been pushing snow and trying to keep the ice,
Pushing snow and pushing snow.
yeah, trying to keep the ice and slick areas down.
Good deal. Okay.
I seen the tree got taken care of.
Yeah.
What did the arborist say on that tree? I know that it lost a lot of the branches through
Yeah.
that snowstorm. Did we actually get an arborist to tell us what's the stability of that tree?
I did not ask him that. He just came and trimmed up what had broke and cleaned up what he could on the ground. We need to clean up the rest of it now
I
that
mean,
the
you
snow's
guys-
pretty well off.
Think it would be a good idea to kind of ask?
Yeah.
I mean, it lost a lot of branches. It lost probably, what, 4 or 5 big
Yeah.
branches?
And a few years ago, it broke a couple during a storm also, so.
The city's hired a new arborist. We might tap the city guy and see.
Yeah, just reach out and see what the integrity of that tree actually still is, or if it's gonna actually come down.
Okay.
Because it's losing a lot of life here in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That's, I can't even begin to estimate the age of that tree.
Well, there's pictures of in the 30s
Yeah.
out here, and they're
Yeah.
3-4 feet tall.
Anyway, just might not hurt, if we need to trim it up or do something to save it, or if we actually, I don't wanna bring up the removal, cause that'll create a lot of anxiety in the public, but
Yeah.
at some point in time, it might have to happen.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Dustin.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea to get the arborist to look at it and see what kind of health, if it has any health problems, and
Okay.
maybe we can fix it some way.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Nolan. What are you gonna talk to us about today? Conservation easements, maps?
Pretty much, yeah. You said it. Well, we updated that conservation map. We set it up, put some more easements up there, and just to, show, make it a better color of it. I think the last map was kind of like dull, but this is more bright, so you can see the more easements more better, more clear. Aside from the usual parcel edits and the assigning address, we also updated recreation campsites since it's starting to warm up. People are starting to move around, and we got some more update maps from the BLM and Canon of the Ancients, and some dispersed mapping locations for a recreation map on the web viewer, the website. Other than that, I presented at the EOC meeting with Spratland, emergency operation. I introduced them. It's part of ArcGIS platform. It's called Field Maps. It's pretty much, it's a mobile app that you can download to your phone, your tablet, which you can enable you to take GPS points, polygons, lines. So we use it, me and Doug Roth, we use it for taking road data. Since they rerouted a road near the Can-Am BLM Road 453, part of that was going into private, so we wanted to update our website viewer. So I use that app to take the new road data and some new recreation sites that the BLM is going to be putting in there this year. So I introduced ArcGIS field maps to Spratlin, and he wants to use it for his emergency assessment, evaluation, debris assessment, anything for emergency. You can customize the maps, make it to whatever you want. Say like, for example, if you want like search and rescue, I will go ahead and just create that, and we have 5 search and rescues looking for, you know, that person. And the good thing about it, everybody has their phone with them, so you know you can go ahead and just, instead of carrying like GPS units, you can track, you know, wherever. And also once you upload data, it goes to like a central hub. So like the EOC, the personnel can see all the data you collected, emergency, last person, known location, etc. And it shows them like a real-time, up-to-date location-wise. And also you can track different mobile workers individually. So you say like you have 5 mobile workers or 5 search and rescue personnel looking out there in Boggy Draw. You can track their locations, and essentially like you can bring up a map of where the locations have they covered. So you can pull your resources and look for a different location instead of having one person look at the same area and not knowing about it. And you can direct your personnel to different locations. So yeah, it's part of ArcGIS, and since we already use desktop and ArcPro for our parcel editing and address assignments, it's part of this subscription package, and since we already have it, you know, we just thought we utilize it within the county. And different cities and different counties elsewhere use it as well, and it's pretty you know, pretty straightforward, and pretty workflow is pretty good. Yeah. So
All right.
I'm just working with Spratlin on that, and just doing just the presentation, the EOC meeting. I pretty much just presented that to the team and showed them how to download the app, and we all went outside and did like a mock-up emergency data gathering, and we had different people and different EMT and different emergency service. You know, they pretty much got involved, and we all took data at the same time, and you know, we asked them if they want to use it, and they kind of, you know, they like the program, so that was pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's pretty much it, and yeah, that's all.
Okay. Well, thank you, Nolan.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right, with that, we'll move to public lands. I see that they all walked in, and as you're walking up, I'll take a minute.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You ever read the hot seat?
How are you all this morning?
Good.
Good. How about yourselves?
Okay.
Good.
Fighting mud,
Right.
but that's a problem we haven't faced in quite a while, so we'll take it for now.
Exactly. Yeah. Not to this extent, anyways.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
I'll go
Why
first.
don't you wait for Commissioner Candelaria?
Oh, sure.
He'll be right back.
Okay.
You seeing a lot of activity on federal lands? Starting to show up? Spring breakers?
You know, it's starting, but conditions just aren't that great. Sand Canyon even, you know, is the lowest elevation part of public lands in the area, and a mile up, it's muddy enough that you've got 2 inches of mud hanging off your boots.
Yeah.
So it's picking up, but not as much as you'd think for this time of year, quite yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing with the Forest Service side, you know, other than the winter activities, you know, are still occurring.
Oh, I'm sure.
There, Boggy Draw, and in Chicken Creek, but other than that, as far as spring breakers and their impact to the Forest Service lands, at least thus far, they haven't showed up. But I think things really get into swing starting next week.
Well, maybe we'll have somewhere for them to go.
Right?
Hand them all a snow shovel or something.
There you go.
Hand them a snow shovel?
Yeah,
All
snow
right.
shovel, yeah.
Well, good to see you all.
Shows
Same here.
Who wants to go first?
I'll kick it off. So, as we talked about last time, I'm now formally into the detail for the field manager position. So I'll be here until 120 days or until the position is filled. They're currently process of filling the position. I think they're conducting interviews this week and next week. And the district manager felt that within 45 to 60 days that they'll have selected a individual for the permanent position. So I shouldn't be too far off until we get somebody selected, and then depending on whether they have to move or not, will take more time if they do have to move in from somewhere else. So we'll see how that goes. Just wanted to thank you for the comments that the county provided for the Gunnison Sage Grouse Resource Management Plan amendment. That's a statewide amendment that's going on. So we've received those, and they're currently going through all those at this point in time. The big game Resource Management Plan amendment process is also ongoing. Comments were due today from cooperators, so hopefully James or somebody was engaged with that, and if not, we'll still accept comments, until, just pretty much at any time from cooperators. So if for some reason the deadline isn't met today, there's still opportunity to provide comments. And that's really about all I had. Do you have any questions for me on anything?
No, I mean, it's good to hear that, the field manager will be selected that quickly. When we were back in Washington, we actually had a meeting with the BLM, and that was one of our biggest concerns for the Trace Rios field office, because that affected us, a lot of us out there, is, when is that gonna get done?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, obviously, selecting people that there's not enough to go around, it seems like, is a challenge, but
right.
That's good to hear. So, thank you.
All right,
Appreciate
you're
that.
welcome.
Ray,
All right, I can go next. Can you guys hear me through the microphone?
you bet.
So a couple of updates, and then I wanted to talk about our Keep Colorado Wild proposal. First update is that our visitor center museum, we're doing a major floor stabilization project. We've taken all the tile out, drilled 90 holes through the cement slab. We're gonna install some jacks to hold the floor up so it stops settling and we don't end up with big cracks. So big project. We're closed. We'll be closed through mid-May, open in mid-May with a bare concrete floor, and then an epoxy floor in June, and then fully opened. And then the other update, I think your GIS person was mentioning this, but out at Painted Hand, we have a new gravel road, and over the last couple of weeks, it started to dry out, so we have a good new gravel road going to a new parking lot, new restroom, new picnic shelter. We're working on an interpretive trail. So the Painted Hand area is seeing a big upgrade, and worth going to visit when you have a chance. And then a proposal that we have, and would be very interested in any comments that you guys might have about it. If you've registered your vehicle in the last 2 or 3 months, you've probably noted that unless you opt out, you get a discounted state park pass, a $29 state park pass. And we're proposing to partner with the state to allow that pass also to allow entry into our museum. This program, the state believes, will generate a fair amount of money. In addition to supporting the state parks, it'll also support search and rescue and avalanche awareness, wildlife conservation, a variety of other programs. And they're looking for federal partners. I think that you guys all know that we're a 170,000 acre national monument. We have 13 public sites, cultural sites that we have hardened, that we monitor on a regular basis, that we have developed trails like Painted Hand to them. We also have a visitor center. We have a special exhibit space. We don't charge entry for any of those. The only thing that we charge an entrance fee for is to go into our museum. 3 years ago, we increased the fee to enter the museum. We doubled it from $3 to $7. Since then, we've also seen a fairly dramatic increase in use. We've increased visitation by 20 to 30%. Even with the increase in use, even with the increased fee, we're bringing in less money than we did 3 years ago. And that's because the federal lands passes have become very popular. Cost you $35 to get into many of the bigger national parks. That's an increase, but the federal pass, the America the Beautiful pass, has stayed constant at $80. So it very quickly becomes financially reasonable to get one of the year-round passes. So we don't think that our fees are going to generate much more money for us. We are asking the state, if we do enter this partnership, for them to give us enough money for it to be worth our while. We're asking for $110,000 a year. That money would go towards additional staff at our visitor center, towards a seasonal archaeologist to monitor our cultural sites. And then we're also hoping to have that money help pay for an exhibit specialist, which is a need that we have. The state is currently, I'm sure you've seen it, they're currently advertising the program. If we're one of the first federal partners, we believe that that would lead to an increase in use at our visitor center and museum. We believe that that's a good thing. You know, we're excited to welcome more people to the visitor center. We feel like we're doing a good job of educating people about Native cultures and ways to visit cultural sites with respect. We have a little bit of concern that the increase in visitation at our visitor center would bleed over to some of our non-public sites, the sites that we haven't hardened, and that's one of the reasons that we're asking for the seasonal archaeologist to monitor those sites. So we're looking at it as a positive, additional opportunities for education for us, but I wanted to bring it to you guys and see if you had any thoughts or concerns.
I've got a couple questions, and I don't know if either one of you guys can answer this, but the way I understand it, if I'm reading it right and what I've heard in these meetings, but part of that fee that goes to for the state parks, because we really only have one state park in Montezuma County, I believe, which is Jackson Gulch or Jackson Lake, but the access to the state park, like Lone Mesa, basically on 526 Road. So wasn't some of that funding set aside for that purpose, for funding roads, for the access to the state parks?
I know that some of the money is going, so the state believes that enough people are not going to opt out, that this is going to be a pretty good influx of cash.
Right.
And I know that funds are going to help support the state parks, but I don't know about that specific project.
So-
we could ask.
So, yeah, just find out more for me, because if you go all of the way through that, which is one of the biggest issues that they were having in Park County, I believe, everybody goes through the counties, which they're doing the same thing here in Montezuma County. They all come down 526 Road, which is all in Montezuma County, except for the last, 6-7 miles. But they don't go the other way. They don't go to Dolores County. So that's an impact on the roads in Montezuma County. And then obviously going the opposite direction down on County Road G too. Not that that's a state park, but County Road 41 is a state park. So just look into that for me and make, see if that's really was in the bottom of that, because it kind of sounded like it was.
Okay, yeah, that's something we can definitely look into.
Because then that would be beneficial, obviously, in Montezuma County to get 526 upgraded to which we've been talking about now for a couple of years, to help us with that section from Butler's Corner all the way up to basically the county line. And then I don't know what, then it goes into Dolores County, so I don't know what they would do at that point in time either, but just to check.
Yeah, we've, were you going to talk about Dolores Norwood Road at all? No, okay. So we've actually, put in for several different funding opportunities for the Dolores Norwood Road from Butler Corner, up to the Dolores County line. We put in about a request for, I think it was, what was it, like $6.5 to almost $9 million through the bipartisan infrastructure bill funding. We haven't heard back yet on that. We also intend to put in, a funding request through the Secure Rural Schools, to a much smaller amount. I think that was about 350,000, or maybe it's closer to 400,000, to do at least a mile of the worst section of that road, where we feel we have a really good chance of getting that funding. And then also look into, the federal highway transportation funding, access funding as well, which those dollars I think need to be requested by June, July, and that would be for 24 and 25, or is it 25 and 26? One of those two time frames. So we're going to be putting in for everything, basically, in hopes that we'll be successful, somewhere. But at the same time, I mean, if this is another opportunity, that if nothing else, if we could leverage, that'd be great.
And the other one to leverage too is with all the wildland bills that are being implemented this year, and then with the implementation of the new farm bill, through there, that I think there's either 12 or 13 sections of that, but one of those in the USDA with the wildland fire in there for mitigation, which is cleaning the forest. I think there's something there, and I don't know if that's something that you guys can deal with or not, but.
Yeah, like I said, anything that is available for, transportation purposes, we're definitely exploring that for the Dolores Norwood Road, just because, the condition that it's in, so definitely.
Okay, all right, thank you. And next.
Hello. I'm Shauna Jensen. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the acting ranger. For now, it's till June 17th, but it might extend a little. I have to figure that out. I have been in Dolores since 2001 working as a hydrologist, so I'm very familiar with the forest and the projects that we've done since then. I just wanted to give you some NEPA updates on current NEPA. We have the Dolores Rec Access and Infrastructure Improvement Project, and it's in the objection period from now until the last Monday in April. Then we have the Chicken Creek CE, which is just some adjustments to the trails there, and we're waiting on SHPO concurrence. Upcoming NEPA will involve some targeted grazing on Beaver Rim, and it's to address post-fire treatment of oak brush to try and prevent that from coming back so vigorously. And then we also have some what's called low-tech process-based restoration in some of our headwater streams in the Dolores, so to try and improve fish habitat up there on Wildcat Creek and Snowspur Creek. And then as far as our fire shop, it's possible we could do some pile burning on the glade and in Chicken Creek, but that's all weather dependent. They need about 6 inches less snow on top of the piles to start burning. So we'll see if that happens. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
No, I don't.
All right, and then that reminded me that on the BLM lands and over on N.M.P.M as well, we do have the possibility of doing some pile burning there.
Lower Yellow Jacket, way down by Ismay Trading Post.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yep, and then on the west rim, the Dolores west rim area, where we've been burning for quite a few years, we have some pretty large piles there that we are looking at burning this spring as well, before the snow melts off.
Okay.
You guys use emergency management to notify through their Nixle alerts, so the dispatch doesn't get a lot of calls?
I guess I am not sure on that. We go through our dispatch office and they send out the notifications, and I would need to check to see if, I know those notifications do go out to the sheriffs and probably to Jim as well, and but I'm not sure if they're posting that through the Nixle program or not. I think they have in the past, if I remember correctly.
But I'm not for sure.
But I can confirm that.
Double check and make sure, so.
Sure.
Dispatch isn't inundated.
Mm-hmm.
And one last thing I just thought of, the flashing signs for Bean Canyon. We got those ordered, right?
I believe so. Haven't kept track on that since we made the, yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure we purchased them as far as installation, and whether they're here yet or not, I guess I'm not positive on that.
Okay. Yeah, just follow up on it and
Sure.
shoot me an email or something just to let me know.
Okay, yep. Sean will probably take care of that one.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Sean. All right.
All right.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
guys.
See you
All right.
next month.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Next, we have our unfinished business. We had a presentation from Jessica Thurman yesterday. I don't see her in here, but she did leave, hopefully with you, the MOU that needed to be signed. Ian has looked this over, and it's basically addition to the opioid settlement of the new companies that have been fined or...
Yeah, several new companies have reached settlements on the opioid situation, and so what this MOU does is it assigns the county's portion of that settlement to the Southwest Opioid District SWORD.
To the region.
To the regional
Yep.
district.
And the SWORD, since we talk in acronyms, is the Southwest Opioid Regional Response District. So even we get goofed up on them, but that's what the SWORD stands for. So everybody knows that. So Commissioner, do you have any other comments
No.
towards this?
Pretty well vetted that through the work session, and
Yep.
I would so move we sign the intergovernmental agreement, Colorado Local Government Opioid Participation Forms.
And I'll second it. And it's been moved and seconded to sign the MOU with the Colorado Local Government Opioid Participation.
We understand.
Form. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Get these acronyms going, and pretty soon it twists
Gosh.
everything up.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of them. Okay. Next, we are going to move.
Commissioner, real quick, can we move CSU up at all?
I think we're there.
I think we're there. Come on up. We'll move you up one. So yesterday, we also had a basic question brought to us from CSU, as CSU is not actually an employee of Montezuma County as it relates to driving our county vehicles. We did check with our insurance provider. He said that's basically no issue. We just have to provide the driver's license reports, and then they would be added to our county vehicles. So everything that we have been given now is you are okay as long as you submit that for you and Tyranny. Question 2 was, how does it relate to the volunteers and or leaders, I think, right?
Yeah.
Is what they were called.
Yeah.
And again, I think it sounds like the same applies as long as they've been vetted and they are truly a leader.
And that's what Lynn sent me in all caps. They need to be leaders, so they've gone through the extension 4-H approval process, and they're an approved leader, not just some rando volunteer.
Correct.
Right.
So they have to be approved leaders and with the same criteria to submit their driving record, and then they could fall under the insurance also. So it looks like you are good to go.
Then
You
I-
don't have to have a chauffeur on Thursday.
Whew. Then I also just clarified with Lynn, and so she just emailed me that 4-Hers are like MoCo passengers, and they're okay. And then she said out of state is also okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
So-
correct. And if you can set up with MoCo to, like, take a bus with you and all the kids, it's even better. Because then we have a driver. Now, I don't know if Jennifer can get that or accommodate that or not, but that's something you'll have to just get set up with her.
I just talked to her this morning. So she said they have a older 13-person van that they kind of have in reserve. So the driver of that, which would probably really only be Tierney, would need to be in their drug pool. So she'd need to be drug tested per their things. I haven't talked to Tierney about that yet. I'm sure that'd be fine. And then there might be some paperwork that anybody who rides in it, she said they have a client card that they might have to fill out. Okay. But so it sounds like that's a possibility. She's going to have someone else in her office, Alex, who knows more about that vehicle. Because I was like, we have things in Hesperus, because the term older vehicle is like, could we drive that to Fort Collins? So she said she was going to have Alex call me just to see if she felt safe with that. But otherwise, it sounds like that 13-person van could be an option. And you don't need a CDL, or anything for that. So.
All right.
Do you,
all the problems resolved.
Whew, check another one off.
As far as looking at the MOU, I don't know, Ian, we kind of discussed that too, if we need to just kind of revise that.
Yeah, and I think, Emily, if you're okay with just kind of going through it and bringing revisions, and then we can look at it and we can come together and discuss our revisions. I think that's probably the best way to do it, like we talked about yesterday.
Okay, that sounds great. And do you guys need to approve to have us, like Tierney and I added, or Lynn can just go forward with that?
I think it's just a directive now that we, once it's okay with our insurance provider, we know everything is covered and we're good to go. Just move forward with it.
Okay, awesome.
And then we'll address the MOU once you guys have the time to go through it.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds great.
All
Thank
right.
you all.
Thanks.
That was too easy.
So we have a decision as related to the compost proposal. I think we've already taken care of that. Mel, we just approved his liners. And we're going to move the financial budget policy to the 27-28, along with the county vehicle outside of the county use. That will also be heard on the 27-28. And now we are at the bottom of unfinished business for the approval of the JAG grant. Travis.
So I'm apparently the signatory for the JAG grant. This grant is going to be used for their MDTs, which is their computers inside the patrol cars. It's just, I think maybe Ian has looked it over, but it's just a standard signatories for them to get their funding from JAG.
Okay.
This is a very straightforward grant. I've got no issues with it. It's
Okay.
pretty
And
typical.
these will be for the sheriff's department, like you said, for their MDTs, their mobile data, their computers and their cars, mobile data
terminals.
Yeah. I so move we sign the JAG grant, federal award number 2019-MU-BX-0080 in the amount of $29,380.
And I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to sign the grant award letter. The JAG grant, 2019 DJ 220132-1 in the amount of $29,380. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Travis. And now, Jerry, come on down. It looks like you have the rest of the day for us. Liquor license renewals?
Well, I have a new liquor license also.
Okay.
So the first one is the new liquor beer and wine license for Globally Inspired Kitchen LLC. It's located at 41900 US Highway 160 West in Mancos. We've had the sheriff deputy go out and did his mile radius to make sure there was no anybody opposing that this place get a liquor license. They've complied with everything. They are good standing with their LLC. We have articles of organization for them, their LLC. They have a diagram from when they're going to put the area of in the store. And they had no opposing people for the application for this liquor license.
Okay.
It was publicly posted, right?
Pardon me?
Publicly posted? They put up a sign?
The sign, no.
Oh, okay.
Just on this one, we do for the public special events,
Okay, all
but
right.
not for these. These is where we send out the area, the policemen to go out there to do the area to make sure there's no businesses or anybody around them that is by this business has option to have them to get a liquor
So
license.
this is in the same place as it was previously, right? It's just a different owner, basically?
Yeah, it's connected to Log Cabin.
Right.
He's actually the one that owns it.
Right.
And they're leasing with him, and we have a lease agreement with him for them to be able to sell the beer and wine.
Okay.
All right. Being as we now have no opposition, I move we approve Colorado liquor retail license applications for Globally Inspired Kitchen LLC located at 41900 Highway US 160 West, Mancos.
And I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to accept the Colorado liquor retail license application for Globally Inspired Kitchens LLC located at 41900 US Highway 160 Mancos. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next.
So the next one is Ancient Echoes, doing business as Kelly Place, located at 14537 Road G in Cortez. And I've got the letter from the sheriff showing where they've had no violations on their liquor license.
Okay.
I would so move that we approve the Colorado Beer and Wine license renewal application for Ancient Echoes at Kelly Place, doing business at 14537 Road G, Cortez.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to accept the liquor license renewal application for Ancient Echoes DBA Kelly Place located at 14537 Road G, Cortez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And then the last one I have is for Echo Basin LLC, doing business as Echo Basin Ranch, located at 43747 Road M in Mancos. I also have the letter from the sheriffs where they've had no violations against their premises either.
I would so move we approve retail liquor or fermented malt beverage liquor license for renewal application of Echo Basin LLC, doing business as Echo Basin Ranch at 43747 Road M as in Mary, Mancos, Colorado.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to accept the liquor license renewal for Echo Basin LLC doing business as Echo Basin Ranch, located at 43747 Road M, Mancos, Colorado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay. Mr. McLaren.
The biggest thing I've been working on the last week is the ironwood situation with their pile. As you'll remember, we initially entered into the stipulated injunction that called for removal of the pile by the end of February. Obviously, that hasn't happened because of the snow and the mud and the things that have happened this winter. After meeting with CDPHE representatives and Ironwood representatives, what's being contemplated is an extension of that stipulated injunction, extension of the timeframes to May 31st. Ironwood is confident that they can get that pile disposed of by May 31st. I mean, obviously, weather is still the elephant in the room, but I think that there is a push to try to get everything gone by the end of May, because that's when the winds are going to start picking up, and that's when fire danger increases. Along those lines, something that was brought forth by Ironwood was the possibility of using a air curtain incinerator to incinerate some of the material down at that pile. That was something that CDPHE vetted in great detail. They looked over the air curtain incinerators, they discussed the possibility of smoke, and the information that was provided by CDPHE's experts is that if those air curtain incinerators are used correctly, they can be a really effective way to dispose of that wood waste without a lot of air pollution and smoke. The key is that those things are operated correctly and burned hot, because the idea of that air curtain incinerator, as I understand it, is because it's so hot, it doesn't kick off a lot of smoke. And so one of the things that will be adopted into the new deadlines for the new stipulated injunction will be a possibility for Ironwood to use an air curtain incinerator to dispose of some of that wood waste. Now, that's obviously contingent on them using it correctly and using it properly, so we don't end up with a lot of air pollution. I don't think Ironwood's made a final decision yet as to whether they're going to purchase an air curtain incinerator and pursue that path, or whether they're going to continue to only haul. They're certainly going to continue to haul regardless of whether an air curtain incinerator is used as well. But that's kind of where it's at, and the new deadline would be May 31st for that pile to be gone. Just so everybody in the public understands, and people watching out on YouTube, in law there's a concept called force majeure, and what it really deals with is contractual performance when there is either an unforeseen or a certain natural event that makes performance of a contract impossible. And the reality is that's what we've had with this winter. We've had really severe weather that's really hindered Ironwood's ability to haul that material off-site. And so, I know just based on the updates that Mel Jarman's provided to us with, and based on the load slips from Ironwood, they have continued to haul chips periodically throughout the winter. Not at the rate that they would like, but the chips have continued to come in. And so, legally, even with the original stipulated injunction, we have to work with them, because we do have these weather events that have, between the mud at our landfill and the mud at their facility and the snow, it has necessitated an extension of those deadlines. So, I think everybody at CDPHE and obviously the county and Ironwood are hopeful that this weather will subside and the mud will go away, and we can get this taken care of. I think it's a high priority for everybody. I know it's a high priority for you guys, and I know CDPHE's taken it very seriously as well. Other than that, I don't have anything to report.
All right. Thank you, Ian. Travis.
So this week I was able to meet with Patrick Ronanelli from DOLA. We talked extensively about the strategic plan and the process that we're going to undertake to incorporate that. So commissioners will probably need to be prepared to see on their radar a questionnaire. Once we get that questionnaire and information back, we'll end up having a workshop before a workshop. It'll be about a half-a-day discussion on goals and objectives of the path the county wants to take as it relates to the strategic plan. Also, Gina's put in her retirement papers, so we are embarking upon getting that advertised. We're gonna take a wide swath at the advertisement, and going to try to get all four corners area, state, and even nationally if we have to. So we are in the process of getting that taken care of. Was able to meet with the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs this week. Good conversation. And lastly is our financials. So our general fund total was $2,360,570.78. Road and bridge, $746,708.48. Public health, $225,761.06. Capital fund, $58,650.85. Administration fund, $37,338.32. Landfill, $148,568.98. Check register total, $3,577,598.47. Social services, $1,983,423.05, with a total of $5,561,021.52.
Okay.
I so move we approve the expenditures of January 1st, 2023 through January 31st, 2023 of Montezuma County in the amount of $5,561,021.52.
And I will second it. It's been moved and seconded to accept the payables for the month of January 2023 in the amount of $5,561,021.52. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Commissioner Lindsay.
Not too much to report again. We had our workshop yesterday and worked through some stuff. Also, City Council is tonight. And just while I'm thinking of it, if you haven't paid your property taxes or gotten your property tax bill, I would encourage you to do so. You can see by the amount we just laid out that we're kind of in need of a little bit of money. Other than that, that's all I have to report.
Okay. And mine is not going to be too lengthy because I actually took vacation last week and took my family to Arizona and had a great time with my granddaughters. However, the week before I did, and Travis probably already reported on this, that we were able to meet with Naomi Dobbs, Bonnie Loving, and Senator Simpson over in Durango as we're looking at the potential of putting forth a bill that would require the state to fund our free Adafite program here, or our noxious weed program as it relates to water and our agricultural community. It's been mandated by the state that, you know, we have this program, but there again, there's no funding from them. So we're looking at getting our funding from it. We have a model program here, and that's kind of what we're looking at. The senator and Congresswoman Bobert's office are both interested in it. Now we'll just see how far it goes from there. And our workshop yesterday, we went through all of it. We went through the opioid settlement memorandum, the landfill compost pad proposal, CSU's extension employees, and our discussion of our financial policy, which we'll put off until the 27th, 28th. And that is all that I have to report. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I did attend the Dolores meeting last night. A couple things that they're working with or working through. They will be being rated by ISO, the Insurance Service Organization, for their building department and how it relates to their, basically their codes of how they enforce their fire portion over there, the way I understand it, as best as I can understand it. And hopefully they're wanting to get like a rating of 5. So they rate, ISO rates fire departments and then also municipalities as how they're doing to make sure that the municipality systems are correct. So that'll be forthcoming for the town of Dolores. They talked about doing some housing. They're looking at some grants to fulfill that housing that they have for workforce housing over there too. So that's in the process. And then they were presented by the community center again because they had lost their insurance. Well, it will be going away April 1st, so they're trying to talk the city into accepting it and then putting it under their insurance, so then it would go back, revert to the town of Dolores instead of the community center as a organization. So that's kind of ongoing there. And with that, that is the end of it.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, second, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn this BOCC meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.